Free your mind now. Be part of the People's Pan-African Parliament. The Pan-African Pyramid Debate with your speaker, Andrew Irumba Katusabe.
I want to thank you, all of you, for coming, all our distinguished guests. Thank you so much for coming. For the sake of time, we're going to go into a panel discussions, first and foremost. Our panel discussions, we're going to have 3 panel discussants who are going to, at length, talk about the Pan-African Pyramid. They're going to talk about a topic that they've been provided and how Africa can move forward as a unified Pan-African entity.
Right Honorable Speaker, today is a very exciting day in Africa. Let's give ourselves a clap. Right Honorable Speaker, when you gave me the topic, I began to research. And I found that today, the 30th of August, is actually a very special day. Because some years ago, 1897, on the 30th August, 1897, a group of people sat somewhere in Switzerland, Basel, Zionists, and declared they wanted one Zionist state. And achieved it. 30th August, a day like today. Now 30th August, 2025, Pan-Africanists are here to declare and sign a United States of Africa. And I think it's going to happen. Right Honorable Speaker, that is not the first coincidence. There was another coincidence. I was checking and I found that the 30th August, a few years ago, on the 30th August, a group of Zionists met in Basel, Switzerland, and they resolved to have a Jewish state, and they had it. Then today, 30th August, Pan-Africanists are resolving to have the United States of Africa. I felt that was a wonderful coincidence of days, and I'm fortified that it will succeed. Right Honorable Speaker, there was another coincidence. The people who were convening to make a state were not government officials. It was a journalist like you. So today you have also convened here as a journalist to declare the Pan-African state, the United States of Africa. Right Honorable Speaker, that's not the only coincidence. There was even yet another coincidence. We are supposed to have a banker here, Sudhir Pereira. And at that Basel meeting, there was also a banker, Rothschild. There was a banker. And Right Honorable Speaker, the Pan-African United States of Africa that we want now is not just for the black skin, it's for the white skin, for the Asian skin, but just for the continent of Africa. For a long time, that dream of a Pan-African state has been held back by the Western powers. We must make Africa one state. The whole of Africa, when it becomes one state, will become a superpower in one day. Because it will be the size of Russia, it will be the size of America, it will be the size of China. And yet in Africa, one country has got the mineral wealth of China. DRC Congo alone, the wealth of DRC Congo is equivalent to the wealth of China. In 1963, African leaders met in Addis Ababa to unite Africa into one state in one day. Then the question was asked, how many of you presidents of Africa are ready to go back, not as presidents, but as governors of your respective states? All of them refused. Only 2 presidents in Africa said we are ready to relinquish our sovereignty and accept one Africa. One was Kwame Nkrumah of Ghana. The second one was Uganda's president at that time, Obote. The rest refused. Right now, when you talk of African unity, the people opposed are the presidents of Africa. So who is going to make the African state? It's you. It is you, the private sector. It's you, the individuals, like the Israelites. It was Israeli individuals, businessmen, private people who declared that we want a state. So if you want an African state, we shall get it. I think, Right Honorable Speaker, we have a book that we have circulated around. And that book, make sure you sign it. It is your declaration for the United States of Africa. And what do we want? I tell you, gentlemen, the problem killing Pan-Africanism is double mouth. Double mouth. Right Honorable Speaker, there is one thing that the African leaders have been betraying us. And when today we are going to sign another declaration, we are going to sign, as you sign for the United States of Africa, you're also going to sign rejecting the export of raw materials. Rejecting the export of raw skill. Why are African leaders still exporting non-skilled labor to Arabs? That is wrong. Then as I sum my minute, Right Honorable Speaker, how are we going to develop the United States of Africa? Let us go by China. What did China do? China went back to their ancient kingdoms. All these belts and road networks they are making according to their old ancient kingdoms. Africa, we must go back to our ancient kingdoms. The Chwezi kingdom of the Bachwezi. The Kushite kingdom. Yes, actually, East African community should be a reincarnation of the Bachwezi kingdom.
Thank you so much.
We can continue the debate.
So thank you very much, Professor Alenyo. We shall come back to you. At this juncture, I'd like to call upon Mr.Gerishom Okonda from Kenya. He's also going to further elaborate on African unity and where we go from here and the role that the Pan-African Pyramid can play.
Right, thank you so much. Ladies and gentlemen, distinguished guests, esteemed leaders who are present here, brothers and sisters of Africa, people from diaspora, ladies and gentlemen, good evening. All protocol observed. I will start by saying that it's both a privilege and a sacred responsibility to stand before you this evening here in the heart of Kampala, Uganda, at the 8th Pan-African Pyramid Global Award and the 11th anniversary dinner. We gather not merely to celebrate achievements, but to reignite a fire, maybe for the generation that was born during the time of matchsticks and gaslighters, that an African man was well equipped with a special stick, igniting on a special stone where fire was lit. For me, that is a software that is lying dormant that we have to reawaken today. Who say that we never used to have our own source of igniting fire? And so be prepared that this evening we are going to put our mind together and see how can we be able to decolonize our mind and think a bit different for us to get different results. They say if you keep doing the same thing over and over and over, expecting different results, the only closest mindset of a person can be compared to is a mad person. And so for us to get different results, we need to do things differently. And so, as an African proverb says, until the lion have their own history, or their own historians, the history of the hunt as an activity will always glorify the hunter. So today, let us be historians, the philosophers, the knowledge bearers, and above all, the liberators of our own minds. So why decolonize the African mind? I'll be slow in my conversation so that if you have a question to ask, you can put it down and see exactly how this conversation can bring a change. Colonization was not only about land. Many times when you talk about colonization, we're talking about, our land was taken away. Our heritage, our culture was demeaned. But let me tell you, the real colonization was the colonization of the mind. Sometimes it's not about the hardware. It's about the software. The greatest conqueror of Africa was not seizing of territories. It was not the captivity of the thought. It was the captivity of our mindset. That is exactly what we must undo. Ladies and gentlemen, it is time to start unlearning what we learned yesterday and start relearning freshly. Of course, when we are more informed about how the knowledge of yesterday of the colonizer affected the way we live today and affected what we believe in today. As I conclude, how are we going to reclaim our African philosophies? Every society lives by its philosophy, its understanding of existence, morality, community, and destiny. Colonialism taught us that Africa has no philosophy, but ask ahead and still have deep philosophy of life. Ubuntu from South Africa reminds us, I am because we are. It is an ethic of community and independence of shared humanity. In my conclusion, it's important that we understand the path of rebuilding or decolonizing Africa will be number one on educational reforms. We have to sit down and change our curriculum for the sake of the future generation. Number two, we have to come up with a language policy. African government must elevate indigenous language in school. Parliaments, courts, and media. Kiswahili already is an official AU language which unifies the entire Africa. We can do things better. I miss and I remember in 70s when I was starting my school, I used to be taught mother tongue in my first 3 years in school. I don't know where that disappeared to. Because later on, we came to find out that it was a competition of who knows to speak English better than the other. English is not a measure of intellectuality. 3, knowledge systems. Let us fund African research, document indigenous wisdom. Let us support herbal medicine, traditional conflict resolution, the storytelling. It must remain as valid as it was during the times of our forefathers. Number 4, the philosophy, the philosophical renaissance. Our leaders, scholars, and artists must articulate policies and create work rooted in African values like Ubuntu, like Harambe, like Sankova.
And finally,
the Pan-African unity. Because no single African nation can achieve this alone, we must unite and work together as a team. As I stop there, I want to thank everybody. Let God bless Africa as we soldier on together for one Africa, one passport, one currency, one destination. Africa is one drum. We only have several beats, and that's what makes the music. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Gerishom Okonda.
Free your mind now. Be part of the People's Pan-African Parliament. The Pan-African Pyramid Debate with your speaker, Andrew Irumba Katusabe.
Can we kindly have Professor Ojwang, please?
Thank you. I want to remodify my topic. I like teaching, although I'm supposed to lecture or just give a presentation, but I'll make it pedagogical in approach. I have modified my topic to read African indigenous knowledge systems and development. Then subtitle, Ethno-conservation approaches to sustainable and healthy living. Why ethno-conservation approaches to sustainable and healthy living? Because conservation has to do with life. Conservation of resources, conservation of life, conservation of culture, conservation of everything. So we must think of a people-centered conservation approach or approaches. And I will focus on a very small area, ethnobotany. Ethnobotany. Notice that I'm not talking about botany. I'm talking about ethnobotany. And by extension, you can talk of ethnozoology. And you can, by extension, talk about ethno-veterinary medicine or veterinary sciences. And when I'm talking of veterinary or livestock development, the person who comes to my mind is the President of the Republic of Uganda. And his attachment to those indigenous long-horned cows. I would like to interview him about that, why he's attached to those cows. And one time, 2 Kenyan leaders came to Uganda, and instead of treating them, in a house, he took them out to go and look after cattle. Raila Odinga and William Samoei Ruto. Now, by giving you that example, I'm talking about our indigenous knowledge system. The Ankole cattle, the Borana cattle, the kienyeji kuku, the kienyeji seeds. And my brother from Kenya has just talked about that. The GMOs and the indigenous seeds. I did research in Homa Bay County, which is on the shores of Lake Victoria. I met a woman who was a plant breeder. And people would come to her every planting season and get the original seed. But do you know something? And the lawyers who are in this house dealing with IP and all that, do you know something? That, I don't know about Uganda, but in Kenya, they are outlawing, because of the big seed, companies, they are outlawing sharing of seeds among farmers, among neighbors, among family. If you're found sharing or selling, it is an offense, and you can be jailed for 5 years. Can you imagine? Your food is being criminalized. So I am focusing on ethnobotany. By ethnobotany, this is anthropological. By ethnobotany, I mean people-centered botanical knowledge. 2, culture is knowledge. Culture is knowledge. And when I talk of culture, I'm talking about the trees in your compound, I'm talking about the goats, I'm talking about the sheep, the cattle. 3, culture is communication. We communicate through culture. Somebody has said that those who didn't wear the African print, you have questions to answer at the end of this session. I'm glad that I will go scot-free because of my shirt. Yes, and then that's culture, isn't it? That's culture. And then culture as a system of mediation, culture as a system of practices, culture as a system of participation. And culture is language. I'm not going to explain that because time is over. And then lastly, ethnobotany, which I started with. We need to understand the plants which grow around our compounds. And even the flowers you're planting, why are you planting them? The trees you're planting, why are you planting them? Are they ornamental trees? Or are they providing shade in your compound? Yeah. You must answer about these questions. So characteristics of plants, we must understand. Uses of plants, human attributes of plants, animal attributes of plants, their meaning in our folklore, and also the ones we borrow. For example, on your table, we have a lot of horticultural products. I mean, look at the table, horticultural products. So, the ones we borrow, because we have to borrow. And then lastly, we should think of food in terms of African indigenous knowledge system. Food, forage, materials, fuel, human medicine, animal medicine or veterinary medicine, then customs and traditions embedded in our ceremonial and ritual and religious uses of the plants we own in our environment. And that ends my story today. Tutinda, that's what we say in Luo. Tutinda.
At this juncture, I'd like to call upon our last panel discussant, Honorable Fred Mukasa Mbidde.
Thank you very much, Madam Moderator. Africa. First of all, I would like to recognize that I am happy, having been invited, first of all, to pair with a panel that is extremely felicitous, with a pedigree of discourse that, in my opinion, is promotional in nature. Number two, discussing Africa. As a Pan-African, a lot of people, by the way, think that being African qualifies you to being a Pan-African. Some people even think that being a Pan-African president, an African president qualifies you for being a Pan-African. In my opinion, that is not the case. If this is a revolution that consists and instead seeks to consolidate the solidarity of persons with African descent, it is your actions that will definitely tell you that you are Pan-African, other than just the kind of office you occupy within the circumstances. So most of the African presidents are actually not Pan-African. That is why Africa doesn't need prayers, because it has been endowed. All that we need is prayers for the leaders of Africa. Because that is where actually we went wrong in the equation. When you look at leaders in Africa, 2 times 2 is not 4. Where factors in the equation are human beings and leaders in Africa, that does not qualify as a numerical equation. Africa does not sail without history. What are we? 54 sovereign states. We have a GDP of 2.8 trillion United States dollars, if of course obviously World Bank figures of last year are to be considered as material. Less than India's 3.9 trillion. But what is our history? By 1962, Africa had a GDP of close to 60 to 70 billion US dollars, bigger than India's 39 billion US dollars over that time, and bigger than USA's 3.8 billion US dollars over that time. Now that means if you think Africa is growing by partnering with all and sundry in Europe, then obviously you are telling me that you have got a very great sense of humor. Because by 1962, we are better than actually what we are today. Today, the United States is 29.7 trillion US dollars by GDP. And I can tell you, GDP has nothing material to do with the nationals of that country, because it is a gross domestic product. When we are being taught economics, we are told that gross domestic product is the total money value of goods and services produced in an economy, not necessarily by nationals of that economy. Meaning what actually United States is enjoying is not being produced by the Americans themselves only. Now that is where the question is. Even with the presence of the African Free Continental Trade Area, why is it that of the first 100 global companies, at least by market capitalization measurement, no African country exists on the list. Why? When we have presidents that are actually dubbed Pan-African in nature. Why should companies not merge? Lawyers, I am seeing lawyers here. Some of us are actually proficient in mergers and acquisitions in Uganda as practice areas, as lawyers. We don't see companies merging and acquiring. In fact, we have just recently passed the Competition Act in Uganda, but we had companies that merged without actually recourse to the effect such a merger without a regulatory procedure has on consumers in Uganda. But we are okay. We are led by a Pan-Africanist. So, when I am discussing the issue that I was told to discuss, how Africa should adopt a single passport, what is the history of the adoption of that single passport for Africa? What is it? When it was outed in 2016, I think that is around 10 years ago, everybody, actually including all of us, we thought Africa is now heading to the best direction. Little did we know that up to today, it is only presidents, some diplomats, and a few permanent secretaries that actually have the passport. So they are actually endowed with the free movement within the East African continent, yet they actually did not face travel processes restrictions. So in effect, it was given to those that did not need it and restricted against those that actually fancied what it should have done. So African leaders are not Pan-African. That is the major problem. So it remains apodictic for you to expect that precincts that require Pan-Africanism can be achievable by those that are actually against the spirit of Pan-Africanism in nature. Therefore, in Uganda and Africa, we are dealing with a major problem. And I want to explore this little problem for you to determine whether now we shall get a passport that allows free movement. When actually in Africa, what we are dealing with now is statelessness. So those that you wanted to move freely are actually now even declared stateless. I have looked at documentation of research in Malawi. South Africa is actually dealing with their stateless person is coming from Lesotho and from Botswana. They have been referred to as the Lesotho and the Swana, and they have adopted a principle of citizenship that is in such a way that where you are born is where you are a citizen by birth. In Uganda, for you to prove that you are a citizen, it has nothing to do with you. It has everything to do with your parents and grandparents. And by the way, under Article 10 of the Constitution of the Republic of Uganda, even that is not enough. There must be proof of documentation ranging from 1926, when we know very few books had arrived in Uganda for registration. So as I wrap up, statelessness now is eating into the possibility of free movement. It is actually establishing that there is a possibility of criminality if you cannot prove things that are actually not easily provable. In that regard, my conclusion would be that I think we shall now need to unfasten the tie that we have made. The knot is wrong. We should unfasten it, and a new beginning should emanate from those that have got minds buttressed here and now. I thank you very much.
Okay, Your Excellency, our chief guest, the Right Honorable Rebecca Artwara Kadaga, the first Deputy Prime Minister and Minister in charge of East African Affairs, Your Excellencies, the ambassadors of different countries that are represented here, distinguished Pan-Africans, esteemed guests, ladies and gentlemen. It gives me great honor and profound gratitude to welcome you to this year's Pan-African Pyramid Global Awards. Tonight, we gather not merely to celebrate individuals, but to celebrate an idea, a vision, and a destiny, the destiny of Africa. Our theme is not just a slogan, it is a clarion call. It is a clarion call. One Africa, one passport. visa-free Africa, one currency, and one army safeguarding our borders. In other words, all these 54 armies of Africa guarding inside the boundaries, inside actually, not the boundaries of Africa. All of them need to be constituted into one army, stand at the borders, and guard us against any enemy that comes to take our resources. But most of our countries' armies are guarding themselves against us, the citizens. So you wonder. This vision is not new. It was the dream of Kwame Nkrumah, who reminded us that the independence of Ghana is meaningless unless it is linked with the total liberation of Africa. It was the lifelong pursuit of Julius Kambarage Nyerere, who said, without unity, there is no future for Africa. It was the fiery conviction of Patrice Lumumba, who declared that the day will come when history will speak. Africa will write its own history, and it will be history of glory and dignity. Your Excellencies, distinguished guests, today Africa is the richest continent on earth in terms of natural wealth. Yet, our people remain the poorest. Why? Because our wealth is divided. Our strength is fragmented, and our borders are artificial scars of colonialism. The Berlin Conference cut us apart. It is now time for the Kampala Declaration and beyond to stitch us back together. A single passport that allows every African child to walk freely across this continent, from Cape Town, from Lagos to Addis Ababa. A single currency that liberates us from dependence on foreign valuations. A visa-free Africa where brother doesn't need permission to embrace brother. A continental army that ensures our resources are never looted again and our sovereignty never compromised. Africa has the youngest population in the world. This is not a burden, it is a gift, a vast ocean of energy waiting to be harnessed. But unless we unite, that energy will continue to serve foreign interests instead of African renaissance. The youth must rise as the vanguard of Pan-Africanism, just as Thomas Sankara did when he said, we must dare to invent the future. Tonight, ladies and gentlemen, we honor Pan-Africanists who have carried this flame, who have refused to betray Africa's destiny. These awards are not medals of vanity, they are torches of responsibility. To those who receive them, remember you are being called to duty. Let me end with words of Mukasa, the father of Pan-African consciousness. The black skin is not a badge of shame, but rather a glorious symbol of national greatness. From this night forward, let us recommit ourselves to one Africa. Let us march beyond borders, beyond currencies, beyond divisions. Let us build the United States of Africa, not tomorrow, not someday, but beginning right now. Long live Africa, long live Pan-Africanism, long live our leaders of Africa. Now, ladies and gentlemen, they sat in Berlin in a conference just like this one. We were not there. They sat and simply petitioned our continent. That's what they did. But the question is, what magic do they have that we don't? If they manage to sit and divide us, what's the problem with us sitting and connect ourselves again? What's the problem? I think the problem has been the 54 African presidents. There is no African president whom you come here and tell, please, you have come here at Fairway Hotel as the president of a certain country called Burundi. We want you to go back as a chief of that kingdom. You leave the meeting. Now that's the problem. That the people we think are working for us are actually working against us. So what I was saying is that we are 1.4 billion Africans. Then there are these 54, just 54. 54 are the ones managing us, 1.2 billion. And all of you are simply following. You are like sheep. So we are saying we must stop following them and they instead follow us. That's what we are saying. And this is the declaration that we are making today. So I want to make this declaration. After making this declaration, here, if you're not fearful, if you're bold enough, I want the camera people to capture this. Now, sagala batitizi. If you are fearful, please don't sign here. This is a declaration to go back to what we used to be. When you sign this, it means you agree with us that Africa should be one. So I'm going to make a proclamation of this Kampala Declaration, and then I will be the first to sign. And if the chief guest, the Right Honorable Alitwala Kadaga, also agrees that we need to unite, she should also come and sign right after me. The Kampala Declaration for United States of Africa, adopted at the 8th Pan-African Pyramid Global Awards 2025 and 11th anniversary dinner at Kampala, Uganda, dated August 30th, 2025. We, the sons and daughters of Africa, gathered in Kampala, Uganda, not in America, we're in Kampala, in the spirit of Pan-Africanism, send revolutionary greetings to our brothers and sisters across the continent and the diaspora. Guided by the timeless Nguni wisdom, Umuntu, Ngumuntu, Ngabantu, I am because we are. We reaffirm our collective destiny as Africans, united in struggle, bound by shared history, and propelled by the vision of one sovereign and indivisible continent, Africa. This Kampala Declaration is both a covenant and a clarion call, a pledge to resist and all forces of imperialism, neo-colonialism, and external domination, and a vote to defend the dignity, sovereignty, and prosperity of Africa. We draw strength from eternal legacies of Kwame Nkrumah, Patrice Lumumba, Julius Kambarage Nyerere, Thomas Sankara, Muammar Gaddafi, Nelson Mandela, and I can't say Nelson Mandela without mentioning Winnie Mandela, Amilcar Cabral, Steve Biko, Marcus Garvey, Malcolm X, and Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Giants whose sacrifices continue to light the path towards total liberation. Their blood and vision remind us that our struggle is far from over, and that the United States of Africa is not a dream, but an urgent necessity. Under the banner of One Africa, One Passport, we declare that the time has come for one continental passport, enabling all Africans, both on the continent and in the diaspora, to travel freely across our land without artificial borders. A visa-free Africa, restoring natural unity of our people. One African currency, to liberate our economies from foreign manipulation and to strengthen intra-African trade. A continental standby force to safeguard Africa's sovereignty, defend our territorial integrity, and ensure peace and security without external interference. An African continental government, the United States of Africa, embodying the dreams of our ancestors and the aspirations of our children. We, the Pan-African family, solemnly commit ourselves to awakening African consciousness, promoting unity of purpose, identity, and destiny among Africans on the continent and in the diaspora, defending our leaders and liberation ideals, standing firm with leaders who champion African pride, independence, self-determination, and resistance to foreign domination, fostering innovation and self-reliance, harnessing the creativity, inventions, and resources of our people to build a prosperous and self-sufficient continent, solidarity and protection, ensuring that no African stands alone in the struggle for justice, dignity, and freedom. African leaders did this to Gaddafi. After he died, now they are regretting why he was killed. we proclaimed with one voice, Africa shall be free, Africa shall be united, Africa shall rise to claim her rightful place in the world. This is our solemn vow. This is our Kampala Declaration. And with those few words, so I've been asked to invite the Right Honorable Rebecca Ritwara Kadaga, our chief guest, and also the first Deputy Prime Minister and Minister in charge of the East African Affairs. It's my pleasure, Right Honorable Ritwara Kadaga, to come and talk to the people.
Good evening. It's a pleasure to be here today. Thank you indeed for the invitation. But it's very exciting to see that you are gathered here to speak to reclaiming our heritage, our culture, our languages, and our dressing. But indeed, thank you so much. All the presenters, everything you said is very, very exciting. I just wanted to report that, of course, the dream of the United States of Africa has been around for a long time, but it remained in the air. Our leaders thought we should go by regional blocks. The blocks are there, but they remain blocks in their area. They've not come together in any other form. So I think you're right. This move may reignite that intention and see that our people are refocused. I was listening about the African passport. I was wondering who actually issues that passport. Where do you apply? What are the qualifications for accessing it? I think it also remains in the air. Sometime back, I'd gone to attend the PAP in Pretoria. So one of the officials of the Pan-African Parliament from Nigeria attempted to fly into Johannesburg with that passport. He was taken back. He was told we don't recognize this. But he was flying to the headquarters of the Pan-African Parliament. The headquarters of the people of Africa, apart from Addis Ababa. So I think we need to find ways of ensuring that this actualized. However, in my ministry, we have been making some efforts to bring together our people, starting with our peace caravan between the Karamojong, between the Turkanas, the Pokots, and the Maasais, the East African community. We've had two caravans, one from Uganda to Lodwar, and then to Kajiado, via Namanga. And then another one we assembled in Moroto with the Tepes, the Didinga. I was shocked to hear that they are all speaking the same language. All of them were speaking the same language. It was very, very interesting. They were completely at peace with one another. Last April, we had the big meeting of the Article of East Africa, including the Ethiopians. They were here in Soroti for a 3-day meeting. So the people are pushing the government to do something. On the 2nd of January this year, I went with the head of state to Kisumu. There was a big meeting of the Luos of Africa. Massive, from Central African Republic, from all over the continent. So the efforts are there, but I think we need to actualize them, not just have ceremonies where things end. So I think we need to put in more energy along those lines. Now, I was sitting there with Professor Ojwang, and he showed me a document concerning indigenous knowledge within the East African community. So something I want now to read the Secretary General with the ESC to see how we can activate it. Because the document is there, but we hardly speak about it. And I was asking Honorable Mbidde, who has just been through Yala, whether there is a committee that deals with indigenous knowledge. And he said no, but we might put it the committee on legal affairs. So we shall follow it up to see that it's actualized, because it is our role to ensure that we actualize the aspirations of the people of East Africa. Of course, the issue of the visas is a scandal, international scandal on this continent, because the foreigners can come here and just enter our countries. A few months ago, Mr. Dangote, the richest man on this continent, was telling us that he needs 35 visas just within Africa. Despite all his wealth, the doors are not open. So for whom are the doors opening? They're not open for anybody. So it's against the matter we need to drum up to ensure that things happen and it becomes real for our people. But if it was not for the immigration officials, the African people just move on their own. They do their business. You find that the biggest business women on this people on this continent are the African women, from one country to another, just making their money. So we need to unlock the boundaries to ensure that things are working. So I'm very, very happy to be here. I'll sign the declaration because it resonates with the intention of our forefathers, so that they wake up to realize that there's something that has not yet been completed, and we owe a duty to the African people to ensure that the United States of Africa becomes a reality. Thank you so much for the invitation. It's a pleasure to be here, and thank you for the presentations. Thank you.
So I'm going to call at this juncture for his speech, Mr. Ayo Kimathi from the United States of America.
My ancestors woke me up this morning. They say, son, you do know what time it is, don't you? I said, what time is that? They said, it's wartime, so welcome to the war front. Give yourselves a round of applause. You are part of history. People have asked the question, how are we going to do it? Unify the African continent. I would be remiss to try to answer such a question. Let me do it a different way. Right today, we have three men. In the West, we always rename everything. We call them the three kings. We have Baba Assimi Goita, the strong man in Mali. We have Baba Ibrahim Traore in Burkina Faso. We call him the prince. We have Baba Abdurrahmani Chiani in Niger. These three men are not talking about unification. They're doing it. Why should I, as an African in the West, watching three men come together and say it's not three countries, we're one now? The real one African example for it, why should I speak to how it should be done? Rather, I would say they're doing it. That's how we do it. So, I could say that one way, or I could say it another way. Who in here agrees with me that these men are showing leadership for African people on this continent? Let me see your hands high. It's not all, that's good, that's no problem. Do me a favor. It's one thing for me to say it. Can we stand and look in the camera so that we can salute these men and they can see that they have support in what they're doing? If you're not afraid and you're supporting what these men are doing, could you stand? Everybody, if you believe in what they're doing. If you don't, that's okay. I believe in it. I'm an African and we're trying to move towards sovereignty, so we don't have to wait for permission, do we? If we see leadership and we support it, let's look at them and salute as they stand for freedom and free their countries and show us what real African unity looks like. So Baba Goita, Baba Traore, Baba Chiani, you continue to be the fighting chiefs. We will support and be the fighting Indians. I have two things I'll speak on very briefly, because it's not enough just to talk about what we're going to do to stand ourselves up. There are two primary things that we're going to have to address in order to liberate this African continent. One of them is cultural. I'll be very definitive to be quick. I want to respect the time. A man is supposed to be with a woman. I didn't negotiate that. I didn't say sometimes. It's only one African acceptable relationship. A consenting man and a consenting woman. Now some of you say, well, what about if you have two wives? Well, you're still a man, right? And that wife is a woman, and then that wife is a woman. Okay, it's still a man and a woman. That's it. We're not interested in negotiating anything different. We're African men. We love African women. Do we, black men? Do we love these black women? I can't. Yeah. I said, black man, are these some beautiful women? Oh, wait a minute, hold up. Am I in the wrong place? I'm going to ask it again. Is there a black man? Raise your hand if you're a black man. Yeah. I'm going to ask you like you're supposed to. I'm going to show you. When I ask the sisters, watch how they do it. I'm going to show you. They know what to do. Black man, do we have supportive, strong, brilliant, beautiful women? Yeah. Let me show you. Watch this. Black woman. There ain't no other man for you. Yes, we fallen. We got to get back up. There's no other man for you. Could you do something? We're supposed to show leadership, but I need your help this time. I want you to show the brothers what it's supposed to sound like when you show loyalty and support for your partner. So I'm going to ask you if you love the black man. And when you do it, I want the people to place the rock so loud that the people downstairs come rushing up thinking something's wrong, right? Show the brothers how to do it, to not be afraid, to show your love and commitment for your eternal partner that God put us here first, to be complementary partners in the journey of life. I want you to show the brothers how to do it. Black woman, are y'all in the house? Yeah. Do you love the black man? Yeah. All right, I'm going to do that one more time. Y'all, black woman, are you committed and loyal, and are you going to stand with the black man? Let me hear you. Yeah. All right, okay, that's fine. Yeah, that's good. What is bringing all of the issues that the world is being confronted with? What is the source of the child sex trafficking push, of the wars that we see on the planet? What is the source of the diamond theft and the corruption, the overthrow of nations? I'll say it because I know nobody else has the courage to say it. But they called me and asked me. I'm going to go a little more direct. The biggest problem that we're going to have to face in the 21st century for our survival, not just for African people, but for the whole world at this point, is the international Jew. And there's no way around it. There's no way to hide from it. You're very fortunate when they decided what country they were coming to be their homeland. One of the countries on the board was Uganda. You now would be Ugandastinians, watching them spread death through Uganda, onto Burundi, onto Kenya, onto everywhere else. You're fortunate. Now they say that they're coming for Cairo. They're coming for Egypt. What continent is Egypt on? Africa. If you think they would stop there, you're fooling yourself. We're going to survive and unify the 21st century. The cultural issue, man and woman, we don't negotiate. We push that off the continent and away from our people. Secondly, the drivers of all the hell that's being waged on planet Earth, the international Jew. We're going to organize, work with others. We're going to deal with that problem. And then we're going to see the brightest period in the history of African people as we revive ourselves to the glory of our past. I thank you for my time. I appreciate you. See you on the battlefield.
Well. I will not waste your time with pleasantries. Let's get down to business as fast as we can. Putin, this is how I think.
This is how I think.
Like you believe it, this is how I think.
This is how I think.
Some of us have heads, but they are cosmetic centers. We spend more time fixing them than putting stuff into them. You know, let me just move a bit for acoustic. So this is how I think. Put your hand on your heart. Say after me, this is how I feel.
This is how I feel.
Come like you believe it, this is how I feel.
This is how I feel.
Put your hand in your hand, saying after me, this is how I do.
This is how I do.
There are only three things we must do as Africans. We must calibrate our minds with correct thinking. We must recolonize ourselves with ourselves. Because we're not monkeying around that. Life would not leave us a vacuum. If we don't recapture ourselves, ladies and gentlemen, let's change the quality of our conversation. Things that we say. This thing of talking too much about soccer and sports and talking about politics of politics, Politics is entertainment for the poor. But I'm telling you, for 63 years, we have been voting. But we don't see this thing working called democracy. So I happen to be one of the thinkers amongst you, and I will not waste your time. This thing does not work. All right? When you're coming in with strategy, a bad strategy implemented violently succeeds. And a good strategy that is not implemented at all remains on the shelf for a very long time. Some of you who call yourself presidents, you are going to get stoned by your very members because we cannot put you into power, and then you come around with security people to protect us, to protect yourself from us who put you in power. No, it's us who need security from you because you are the thief and you are the murderer amongst us. So we don't need to fear you if we put you into power. We may need to resort to some violent ways of getting these things done. I'm not saying we kill anybody, no. But as Irumba said, how can 52 men and women fail to undo what 10, 12 men did in Berlin Conference? Just the common sense of that. Few white boys, uncircumcised white boys, few white boys sit around the table and they take a ruler and they draw on the map. And up to now, another 100 years later, we are struggling to undo what they did. I'll make it very simple for you, for the younger viewers. Ladies and gentlemen, all our African governments are illegitimate. Swallow that slowly. All our governments are illegitimate. I'm glad I have a lawyer next to me today. Let's go, my brother. Let's talk like intellectuals. Why? I must qualify why I say they're illegitimate. Because there's no way you can run a country based on Berlin Conference. And Berlin Conference was illegitimate. Because it was not democratic. The people that you were dividing their country for were not present. And we did not give you veto power to make that decision on our behalf. So Berlin Conference, legally speaking, it was an illegitimate meeting, which had results, of course, of political will and militarization to enforce, though illegitimate. You can't come back to me in 2025 and say, I'm a president of Zambia, I'm a president of Zimbabwe, I'm a president of Uganda. Based on what? Based on Berlin. So if Berlin was illegitimate, there's no African president here. All of you, tell them. Read my lips. There is no African country. Our country is Africa. These are just provinces. The province of Uganda, the province of Kenya, the province of Zimbabwe. The country is Africa. So while we are talking about the United States of Africa, point of correction, you may want to, with my instruction, take a black marker and rub off the word states. Because those states are non-existent. It must just be United Africa, full stop. There are no states in Africa. Don't give us that illusion of America as if we're different states. We don't want to be African states. We are the state. Africa is a country by herself. So this is United Africa, full stop.
Teach, Maponga, teach.
Having said that, I want to throw some few arrows in the direction of our business community. We need to legitimize our presence. We need to colonize our governments. We need to corrupt our governments with our money. The business community. Black Africans. Don't take your money and run to Dubai. Buy these mines. Invest locally. Because if you don't, the Chinese are coming. Life does not allow for a vacuum. And then you complain, our things are going. These people are coming, are taking our things. But when you have the money, you don't put your money where your mouth is. So we need African bankers who can roll our programs to the community. We need African insurance companies who can ring fence our finances. We need financial engineers. We no longer need slogans. Viva what? We're no longer going to battle here. We are going to the boardrooms of international business conversations. We need some people who understand the guerrilla warfare of finance. How do we transform our economies. I'll give you just one little illustration and I sit down. We needed to start studying first. Thank you, Professor. We need to start creating an educational system that teaches children about their resources that they are standing on. First things first. Don't tell me how many legs does a grasshopper have. Tell me what is underneath my feet. What is at the bottom here? Yeah. Tell me what is on top of the ground. Me, human resource. Tell me what is above my head. Technologies. When you don't have nothing to do with the air, you can even sell airtime. There's business in the air here. There's business here. There's business here. 3 things only that an African child must understand. What am I standing on? Who is standing on it? And what is above his head and her head? If we can begin to orient our children on how to access these resources, not just access them, then beneficiate them. Not just beneficiate them, then manufacture them. Not just manufacture them, then distribute them, market them, and the excess of it for the international community. What am I talking about? Start building value chains. Start building value chains. The Ankole cows are most popular and most resilient. I don't know why we can't fill up the Africa with those Ankole cows. Back to ancient Egypt. Increase the breeds. You are Ugandans, you're one of the biggest stock of these things. There's no reason why these animals cannot fill up the entire continent and repopulate ourselves with a proper breed of cattle. Creating value chains. You know how much is one Ankole cow in South Africa? One. Kuluma. One Ankole cow. How much will it cost you in South Africa? Those things are worth millions. You have them walking around here for 200,000 Ugandan shillings in whatever you're selling them for here. And you don't know you're sitting on a world market where these things are good for milk, good for horns, good for skins, resilient and etc. And until we begin to look at ourselves as Africans as the market that consumes our products. So all of you guys who have money, I'm teaching you the quickest way to corrupt the government is the fastest way also of moving forward. And when you make money with government, don't be embarrassed to spend that money in the place where you have made it. Come on. If we trust you with our money, we must be good enough to share that money with you. So we are looking for serious businessmen. I wish I could have another 100 Dangotes around the continent who can solve the oil problem, solve the car manufacturing problem, solve the solar system problem. Here we are in Zimbabwe, South Africa, shipping out platinum in tons and tons into China. They take raw materials. They don't even tell you in one platinum ore, there are 14 other minerals they are not paying for. They're just paying for the raw material only, which is stones of platinum. And then these things go somewhere very far. And then they come back as lithium batteries. And we are paying an arm and a leg. How stupid can we be as Africans? Tell me that you are all engineers here. Engineer, electrical engineer. Magma summa cum laude from the university. Up to now, you still cannot help Uganda to make one lithium battery. Oh, for crying out loud, if you are stupid like me, just buy one and then dismantle it. Then look inside what is there and try and make it again. That's how China built its economy. We call that reverse re-engineering. Hello, somebody? Reverse? Go buy some caterpillars and break them to pieces. And then manufacture the new pieces, assemble it. Don't even call it Zomyong. Call it Kaguta. Anything that you want. Give it a local name. China, that's what they're doing with cell phones, with clothes, with technology, with cars, with computers. Some of that technology, they've not discovered it themselves. They buy it from the West and re-engineer it. This is what we want to start seeing in our schools. Gentlemen, no more writing 10 papers. And then you come to a conference, they've got small little blue thing in their hands. The problem is somewhere here. The problem is, no, it's not there. The problem is here. Here. It's not on the wall. We needed to start moving, ladies and gentlemen, towards a reconciliation of our systems. Our banking systems must speak to our government institutions. And you who are busy doing law, that law is illegitimate also. Ask me why. These laws have no relationship with us. They don't even know who owns the land. And when two people are discussing land that belongs to another, theft is rife. Put the bank here, and put the government here, and they start talking about land which belongs to the kings. Someone is getting stolen. Someone is getting robbed right there. So this concept of using the foreign forms of governance, we need you as young men who can now sit down and re-engineer what can we call a common law amongst us as Africans. I'll educate you quickly. There are only 3 laws we need as I'm sitting down. Law number 1, the law of self-preservation. Come on. The law of, all of us, the law of, if I find you drunk, walking on the road, and you cannot see your way home, you are a criminal. Because you are now about to kill yourself. Looking after yourself must be business number 1.
Teach, Maponga, teach.
Eat well, drink well, sleep well, live well. Looking after this is a legal responsibility of every African. Don't eat everything like a pig. The country of Africa cannot do with a sick African. You go to Philadelphia right now, in some parts of America, they are zombified on full drugs. They're just going in the home of freedom, the land of the free. And you wonder if these monsters come here with that freedom of drugs, where will they leave us? Anyone who is involved in destroying life is a criminal to the African. You, as an African, look after you. You owe yourself a bit of exercise. You owe yourself some glasses of water. You owe yourself a good waistline. You owe yourself good looks. Look after yourself. Self-preserve yourself. It's a legal responsibility of looking at teach young children how to look after themselves. We don't have vagabonds that are walking around the town here who are a mess to all of us. Number 2, the law of establishing families. That's the second law. Here you put all your legalities around the setting up of homes in an African culture. How are homes established? Husband and wives. How are children? So we need to learn laws of family establishments and the dynamics. When you cannot have children, what must you do? You must do surrogacy. Go and buy some foreign sperms in the bank and produce things that you don't know, some criminals who are busy masturbating over a video, and then you want to produce that as a child? You want to produce that as a child? When we have our own African methods of managing infertility, from the corners of negotiating with sister wives, negotiating with uncles and cousins, and making sure that this issue is resolved, even in the event that a young sister can birth a child and give it to you to look after that child. I mean, don't you find this sensible and human? The laws of family establishment. Law number 3, honorable lawyer, the laws of estate and how to do business on the land. How do we transact? How do we take guarantees from each other? And the first principle on law number 3, any man who sells land is a thief and is selling the future of his children. Land is unsellable. Because no one amongst us has a first receipt from the one who created it. So here's your land and you paid. No one owns land. Our land owns us. From it we came. To it we shall return. So we can teach these simple principles of how to develop a legally conscious community of young people. Look after yourself. Come on. Look after. Oh, I'm speaking in 2 ways now. Look after self. Look after your mind. Look after yourself. Secondly, look after your family with passion. And thirdly, look after your land. For any time you give a man the land underneath his feet, if he does not own the land between his ears and the furniture between their legs, the land underneath their feet will always suffer. We therefore are in the business of developing ownership of the first piece of land here. And when this is in full ownership, we can talk about procreation, and ultimately, how do we maximize our resources? This is how I want you to think. This is how I want you to feel. And this is how I want you to do.
Thank you very much, Bishop. So I'm going to ask for the award team kindly to let us know the categories. Number 1, the award recipients, and we shall be giving out the awards, please.
Today, we honor Libya for its enduring legacy as a champion of African liberation, a visionary of continental unity, and a steadfast voice for Africa's complete independence.
Ladies and gentlemen, I will invite the ambassador of Libya and Mr. Muhammad N.O. Alakroti to come and receive this award on behalf of the Libyan people. This award goes to the Libyan people. The people of Libya have stood with Africa. I will ask my elder brother, Ayokimath, to be the one to hand over that award to you. Face the camera? No. Thank you, Mr. Ayokimasi. You can have this medal and put it in the ambassador's neck. This is a responsibility, His Excellency the Ambassador. It's a responsibility bestowed on you to do the things that will take Africa from where we are to the next chapter. This is.
I forget in my speech to invite you. The next meeting will be in Benghazi, please.
You want me to come to Benghazi? Very good. Thank you so much. They want to host us in Benghazi. Before you go, you have ambassador. You have an ID. This is a membership card. That is a membership card. That's a membership card. You are a permanent platinum member of Pan-African Pyramid. This one, you hand over to me. And this is for the country Libya. We are brothers and sisters. That's for Libya. As a country, also has a membership. Thank you. The next chapter.
Ladies and gentlemen, this year's African Renaissance Leader Philosopher Award goes to
Ladies and gentlemen, give a big round of applause.
The United States of America.
Our elder, Bishop Joshua Maponga, is the one to give this award.
Nigeria, the indomitable flame.
The photographs, please. So, wait, come on. So, you give him the medal on him. This is responsibility bestowed on you. Kamuntu. Here, where is it? Mr. Yokimathi, from now on, platinum category is the highest membership category in our Pan-African hierarchy. So you sit at the highest with me and our elder. You are at the high table. You are a member of Pan-African Pyramid. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, this year's African Renaissance Leader Educationist Award goes to Gerishom Okonda Ambunya from Kenya.
First of all, you need to know that you're not the first Kenyan to be awarded. This was the first one last year. Ouma has been in the in the house. So thank you so much. His Excellency, you will be the one to hand over. Then, Professor, you can stand this side, and Ouma stands the other side as witnesses. No, it is him, Gerishom Okonda. You have come to award him. You have come to award him. Okay, Professor Ojwang, you can put the medal. You can dress him. Thank you. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, let's rise in honor of Algeria as they take this year's most distinguished Pan-African of all times award.
Bishop, you can hand over the award, and Ambassador, that's a responsibility they have bestowed on you to continue supporting Pan-Africanism. It's a clarion call, support Pan-Africanism. Bishop Maponga, you can give him his membership card. Algeria is a member of Pan-African Pyramid. So it's a responsibility that we must promote and support Pan-Africanism across the world, across the continent.
As we converge to bestow this well-deserved accolade as African Renaissance leader, civil rights lawyer, Dan Rugarama Karuchiko emerges not merely as an honoree, but as a living embodiment of the Pan-African creed.
And Rugarama Karuchiko have been there for Pan-Africanism.
Ladies and gentlemen, this year's African Veteran Educationist and Environmentalist Award goes to Professor Jeremiah Humphrey Ojwang from Kenya.
Professor Jeremiah Ojwang from Kenya. Professor Ojwang, thank you so much. Thank you so much for accepting our invitation to come here. I know at your age, coming from Kenya to here and you are still here, to us it's an honor. Thank you so much. Who can, before you go, will you bend your elder? Let the ambassador bend. Then for you give him the, yeah. So now, Professor Ojwang from Kenya, I have now 3 soldiers in Kenya. You are here, 3 soldiers of Pan-African Pyramid from Kenya. Thank you. Now, the last one, ladies and gentlemen, Professor Alenyo George William. Professor Alenyo George William, a little things that I can speak about him is that apart from being a civil rights lawyer, Alenyo is an author, he's a writer. And one of these books he has written that have sold so much is a book titled Deal in the Desert. There's a book he wrote when Muammar Gaddafi was in meetings with Tony Blair. But instead of calling him Tony Blair, he called him Tony Blood. And this deal was in the desert. So he was wondering what kind of discussion did these people have in the desert. So he called him Tony Blood. So you're going to award him? Yes. You're going to award him first? Deal in the desert. They're also having a deal in the desert. Go and have it in the valley. So I will ask. Let him give you. I'm going to bring them. A photo. Give him a round of applause, ladies and gentlemen. Big round of applause. He's a professor. Okay, for the meantime, I would like to appreciate a few of our partners. Pan-Africanism is a sacrifice. We actually spend to ensure that we drive our agenda. So we have got some partners who help us for the last 11 years. Number one is where we are, Fairway Hotel. Chantal is one of our staff, and she has been doing a fantastic job. I'd like Bishop Maponga to be the one to hand over this certificate to her as a sign of appreciation for your work. Thank you. Thank you so much. Charms? Charms Uganda, I want to thank you for your support. So I tell Mr. Vinay that I thank him so much. Thank you. Next media, Dr. Kin Karisa, somebody from NBS? Now, next media, NBS TV, Bishop Maponga. This is the only TV station in Uganda that runs Pan-Africanism. Every Saturday from 4 to 5 p.m., Kin Karisa gave me that airtime. So I thank you so much. Ruparelia Foundation, Kasuk Live, our online partner. So that's all. Thank you so much.
I think at this juncture, I'm going to ask Mr. Irumba to lead his guests to the cake cutting. This cake is symbolic. If you can see, it has the African map on the top. 10, Kumi, Tisa, Nane, Saba, Sita, Tano, Nne, Tatu, Mbili, Moja, Kabisa. Oh!
Free your mind now. Be part of the People's Pan-African Parliament. The Pan-African Pyramid Debate with your speaker, Andrew Irumba Katusabe.